Good evening, everyone. I know I said it a couple times, but I'll say it one more time to make sure we all feel welcome. So good evening, everyone, and thank you. And welcome to the 4th Public Safety Meeting with Mayor Scott and Acting Police Commissioner Worley. My name is Ashelle Henry, and I serve as the Deputy Director of the Mayor's Office of Neighborhoods. I am so excited to be here with you guys today. You could have been anywhere on this beautiful day, but you decided to be here, so please give yourself a round of applause. Before we get started, we do have a few house rules. We ask that everyone be respectful of Mayor Scott and Acting Commissioner Worley and all community members who speak tonight. If you have a question that you would like to ask the mayor or Acting Commissioner Worley, we ask that you come to the front 5 at a time. You ask one question, and there is a 2-minute mark. Not yet, not yet, not yet. So again, we're asking that you line up. We're asking that you line up 5 at a time. You ask one question either to Mayor Scott or Commissioner Worley, and you have 2 minutes. We want to make sure that we're respectful of everyone and everyone has an opportunity to be heard tonight. We do have restrooms outside to your left. And if you haven't already, we ask that at the end of the meeting that you do take some time and go out to Community Row. We have a few city agencies that have some resources and very important information for you guys. Last but not least, if we're unable to get to you tonight, we do have a few papers floating around the room that we're going to collect any constituent issues from. Musa in the back of the room, can you raise your hand? Everybody look at Musa. Wave at Musa. If you're unable to ask your question tonight, we do ask that you give that form to Musa so that we can follow with you at the close of the meeting. Again, welcome to the 4th Public Safety Meeting with Mayor Scott and Acting Commissioner Worley.
All right. Thank you, Ashelle. Thank you, and good evening, everyone. Thank you all for being here, and thank you for, you could have been anywhere, like you said, but you're here. This is our 4th community engagement meeting alongside Commissioner Worley, and I want to thank every single person that came out tonight to be a part of this process. All of our community leaders, our elected leaders. I know that Councilman Costello is here. We are about halfway through this schedule of totaling 7 community engagement meetings held both virtually and in person. We want to give people the option. Some folks don't have the time or just can't afford to leave their home, so we've been doing it online and on phone for them as well. We have another in-person meeting this week in South Baltimore, and then last 2 events next week. One will be in person and the other will be another telephone town hall. All of this, of course, leading up to the Acting Commissioner's confirmation hearing, which will be September 21st for the City Council. But these meetings are not the last that you'll see of the Commissioner or I. We will continue, as always, be out in our neighborhoods across the city for many different events. A quick note on what will happen. You see the microphone up. You know that you should walk up in rooms of 5. We want to get that one question so that we can get to as many people as possible. These meetings really are intended to give you all, our residents, a chance to hear directly from Commissioner Worley, but most importantly, the meeting is about us hearing from you. So we'll be trying to do as much listening tonight and less talking as possible. Making Baltimore the safest version of itself is going to take every single one of us really getting involved in our community and discussing the ways forward and really deeply engaging with one another. And I want to, as always, start these by setting the stage of where we are in public safety in Baltimore. As of today, homicides in Baltimore are down 22% from last year, and non-fatal shootings are down 8% from last year. Progress, but we know that we can still do much better, and the only way to do that is together. Now, we know also, and we're going to continue to operate this way, that no longer is the full burden of public safety and even dealing with violence in Baltimore going to be simply on the shoulders of the police department. We understand and know that violence is a public health issue, and we will be attacking it as a public health issue, and this is why we have a community violence intervention ecosystem that we're growing, why we have a comprehensive violence reduction strategy that we co-produce public safety in Baltimore with you, our residents, with the Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Safety community engagement and everyone that works alongside us in the community, and DPD and all of our law enforcement partners to really eradicate the disease of gun violence. That's why we partner with community-based organizations and other institutional partners to examine the conditions and factors that lead to violence and handle them in that way as well, in addition to growing our group violence reduction strategy that focuses in on the groups of people who are the most likely to be the victim or perpetrator of violence and offer the chance to change your life. But if you don't, we will come and remove you from our neighborhood. We see the progress in that plan, but we know we will do better, and we need all of us to be able to do that. This police commissioner is born and raised here in Baltimore City, grew up here in our city, and has worked in our department and has seen the deep transformation that we've already begun, going from a department that was seen by the Department of Justice as the bottom of the barrel until now the place where they send police departments from all over the country, and me becoming the mayor that they send mayors to learn how to begin to transform their departments. And now I will turn it over to you, Mr. Commissioner.
Yep. Thank you, Mayor Scott. Thank you all for coming. I appreciate the opportunity to hear what you have to say tonight. Like the Commissioner said, I've been with the department for 25 years. I've been in command for 14 of those 25 years. I've seen what works and I've seen what doesn't. The worst thing we ever did was zero tolerance. It alienated the whole community. I was not a proponent of it, never liked it, didn't think it would work, and it actually didn't work. It just hurt us more than anything. There are things I could talk about for hours that I want to do, but some of the main things that I want to accomplish first is we have to enhance our community policing. We know we are not where we are supposed to be.
This is the moment where I say, if you have a cell phone, please put it on vibrate or turn it off.
I know we are not where we want to be or supposed to be with the community policing. I want to fix that. I want to continue the work that we did under Commissioner Harrison with the consent decree to get it fully implemented and for us to move out of it and continue to grow as a department. Obviously, our staffing is extremely low. We have to improve our staffing, but that's not anything we can do overnight. We've done well with what we have, and we will continue to do well as we move forward. And the last thing is to improve on the numbers that we already have. But as far as community policing, just really quick, some of the ways that I plan on doing that I saw right off is that our district commanders are pulled in many different directions. So one of the things we want to do is kind of take some of the burden off them so they can spend more time with community policing. So some of their span of control will be taken away so that they can spend more time with community policing. We need to hear from the residents. One of my strong suits, probably my best suit, was my ability to connect with the residents as the mayor of the Northeast District. I did that through a community letter that got me a great deal of feedback, both positive and negative. We take the positive, we take the negative, you fix it and you move forward. That's the only way we're going to continue as a department. We're going to continue to push on the consent decree. One of the areas that we definitely need to work on the most is our community policing. Obviously, Brooklyn, it did not work, and we know it didn't work and wasn't working in Brooklyn. We have to fix that and make it work throughout the city, and the only way we do that is by making every officer a community police officer. The staffing, we're working with recruitment. We're trying to attract more officers. We're working with some of our large companies. We're actually having some of our HR people from those large companies that do good recruiting to help us to even bring in other people to attract full families to come here. And then lastly, the crime fight, we're doing pretty well, but I know we can do better. Our men and women have done a fabulous job thus far this year. I'm cautiously optimistic where our numbers are. Hopefully we can finish for the first year in a long time under 300 murders, but 300 is still too many. I want to be under 100. So those are the things that I want to push forward as the commissioner. And again, thank you for coming here. I look forward to hearing from you tonight.
All right. And now we will get to the questions. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 are there. There you go. We're ready. Everybody, she's trying to answer a question, everybody.
Good evening, my name is Darlene
It's not working? Hold on, hold on, everybody. Hold up. We good. Somebody turn that mic on in the back, please. Take this one.
Good evening. I'm Darlene Abraham, and my question is for you, future commissioner. Let me see, back in the day, we had what we call Officer Friendly, who walked the beat. And I just think that it might be a good idea if we could implement that. I don't know if you all plan on doing that in the future. And the reason I say this, not because they were good old times, but I just feel that it will enhance the community atmosphere where neighbors would be more comfortable speaking to the police if they were out of their cars. And with you walking the neighborhood, you get to know the neighborhood because you do see more when you're walking than when you're driving. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. That is something that I would like to bring back. I thought it was, that's who came and visited my school when I went to school at George Washington on Scott Street. Okay. We had Officer Friendly come in. So those are things that we can get back into the school because that's where we've lost our connection is with the young people in the community. And that's where the future lies is with the young people. So we've got to connect with them. We also have an Explorer program that we need to get restarted again. Where we get with young men and women that are 14 to 20 that can move right into a cadet, right into a police officer. So all those things for us to get connections with the community, but especially our young people to move them on the right path moving forward.
Great, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
And I'll just add, I think one of the things that we've been highlighting for many years, and I know the councilman's been supporting too, is what we call our smart policing. So one of the things that we got away from many years ago is that we made police the catch-all for everything, right? When they created 911, it was supposed to be for emergencies. But then we turned it into, if we don't like it, we call 911, the police come and take it away, right? And we had our police officers running to calls because children's marching bands were practicing in the street. Like, that's not for the police to deal with, let alone anyone to deal with. Or when people are having behavioral health issues or substance abuse issues, that's not what they're trained for. The best hospital systems, the best mental health and behavioral health people in the world here in Baltimore. And now, through our smart policing and our 911 diversion, we're starting to get away from that. But it's also a challenge to everyone, too. When it's not an emergency, don't call it in as an emergency, right? We have online reporting. We have telephone reporting of lesser crimes that allows those officers not to spend 80% of their time on non-emergency calls through an emergency number that will allow them the time to actually get out of their cars. But thank you for that.
Excuse me. Oh, my name's Jeff Davis. I grew up on 4742 Park Heights Avenue.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
They say the parents are the child's first teacher, right? I gotta ask you this question. How many times did your parents beat your butt?
I can't count. About 4 or 5 times a day, but you know.
That's all I wanted to say, man, because these parents, they need to take control of their kids at home and teach them how to act right on the damn streets. That's what's going on now. Now they can find guns and everything. When I was a kid, I used to fight. If I got my butt kicked, I came back the next day.
Try it again.
That's right. You guys have a good evening.
Thank you, sir. I think that we know that times have changed and not everything is for the better. We do know that we can raise our kids in a different way and not have to put them through abuse, but that doesn't mean that we don't have to hold them accountable. And I think that we have to get back of a sense of community accountability, even for someone, I'm a little bit younger than you, that grew up in the 80s and 90s. Anybody between Park Heights and Wiley and Park Heights and Quantico had the ability to correct any behavior that I was doing that wasn't right? And we have to get back to that sense of community and that community belonging and responsibility.
And we are actually also working with the state's attorney's office to possibly start charging some of the parents for their children who do violent acts.
All right. My name is Lloyd Murphy. Thank you, Mayor.
Hold on, everybody. Mr. Murphy, he's trying to talk. Go ahead, Mr. Murphy.
My name is Lloyd Murphy. I'd like to thank Mayor Scott and Acting Commissioner Worley for showing up. We really appreciate it. I want to just have something understood. We understand that leadership has to have a feared respect. And if that's through decency and order, everything will follow that. I think that's a fairly clear statement, yes. Now, the question is, before Commissioner Worley, we had a commissioner that we had gotten from New Orleans. Mm-hmm. What's going to make this situation any different? Because clearly, he fell short of what our expectations were.
Well, I think a couple of things, right? One, I would say that Commissioner Harrison did accomplish a lot, right? I think we have to remember don't touch no volumes back there. Where BPD was in 2018-19 when he got here, right? We are coming off of the unrest. We're coming out of VSIS, GTTF. We're coming all of these things where literally the police department was seen as the worst police department in these United States of America.
Clearly.
Since then, and we're not perfect and we're not done by a long shot, right? This is a long-term fix of something that has been broken for most of my life. We have then been looked at now, as I said in my opening remarks, as the place that people turn to, right? It used to be that anytime someone wanted to look at something policing, they would run to NYPD. Now, why they would ever do that, I don't know, right? But we saw how that worked for us here in Baltimore, right, when we went to New York and implemented things. But now they send them here to us, over 40 departments, Los Angeles, wherever, people from other countries, mayors sent to me to talk about the reforms and things that we started under Commissioner Harrison. I think, and what I know about this commissioner is having that understanding, as he said in his open remarks, of all the things that were done wrong, having that understanding of what it is to live in this city, right, and how this city operates, knowing the department inside and out, having risen through the ranks and operating in different ways, and operating in times where they didn't get leadership training, they didn't get sent to schools to further embed themselves to see how that changed, and having the respect of and able to gain respect of individuals in the department and the community is what will make the difference.
And for my part, Commissioner Harrison was a great commissioner, but the one thing that he couldn't do, he wasn't from Baltimore. So I drove a patrol car on Pennsylvania Avenue. So I started as an officer in the Western District. I've seen over the years what does work, what doesn't work. I've met and dealt with and communicated with a lot of the people in the community. And I think I've earned the respect of a lot of people in the community because I'm not afraid to say when we make a mistake. If we break something, we don't work, something doesn't work, we have to fix it and move forward.
Okay, Commissioner.
Thank you, sir.
Commissioner
one question, man. You got a whole bunch of people behind you. You can ask a question after it's over, but this gentleman's been patiently waiting.
My name is Clifford Taylor. I have a lot of questions for the commissioner, but I have an issue with a lot of your appointees, and I can only ask one question. I was at the Squeegee Collaborative, which started 30 minutes late, and the mayor was absent. This meeting also started 30 minutes late. It's clear that you don't want to hear from citizens. How are we supposed to co-sponsor criminal justice when police don't respond?
So I guess I'll say two things. The Squeegee Collaborative didn't start 30 minutes late.
It did. I was there. You weren't there. So how are you going to say?
We're gonna do,
no, but I was there.
We in West Baltimore. Chill out. Thank you, sir. I guess he doesn't want his question asked. Well, am I going to talk?
You weren't there. So how are you going to tell me that it didn't start?
We going to be emotional or we going to talk?
No, but you're telling me that
Are we going to be emotional or we going to talk? It didn't start 30 minutes late. And you have to calm down. Thank you. So, one, we're always there listening to. We have to remember, I'm always in the community. Anybody knows you can find me anywhere up and down the streets of Baltimore. I'm not hard to find. I'm always outside. Let's just start there. Secondly, when you talk, this meeting was scheduled to be this way. We wanted to give people an opportunity to get here. We set it out to start at that time so that people could actually get here, get signed in, get seated down so that we can hear from folks. We're always going to be there. We're always going to be listening to people. This is what we're here doing. And when we be talking about the Squeegee Collaborative, we should be talking about the success of the Squeegee Collaborative. We should be talking to those young women and men who are used to squeegee, who are now working and having jobs, and how we see a lot less of them out there doing that. Go and talk to those young people. We would love for you to get involved in it.
I still see them there.
We're never going to, listen, no one said that they were going to disappear. Something that's been there for 45 years, they were going to disappear in 1 year, right? I think that what we've seen is an 80% reduction, right? As someone who's lived in Baltimore my whole life, squeegees have been in Baltimore longer than I've been alive. That's the reality. So what we're going to do is continue to work with them. When we see a young person squeegeeing, the first thing that we do is we no longer send BPD first. We send other folks. We send the Mayor's Office of African American Male Engagement, and you can actually go up to Coppin. We have 150 of them engaged in a rites of passage program to get them on a better standing so that them and their families are in that situation. We can get them out. Not everyone's going to respond to that, right? And that's when BPD comes in. But we can see a clear reduction in that, and we're going to continue to work with them. But people who are doing things in a legal way, robbing people, harming people, then we have to involve law enforcement. We're going to continue to do that. But if you want to hear about that work even more in depth, we definitely can follow up with you.
But are you going to answer my question? I said, how can we co-sponsor criminal justice when the police don't?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry about that. So when you have an incident that the police don't show up for a response, I'll let the commissioner answer that. But there's always a way for you to make sure that happens. We need you to lift that up with us and their supervisors so that we can follow up. If we don't know, we can't hold them accountable for that. So if you have specific instances of that,
I do.
All right, well, we can talk to you about that afterwards. Sir?
Make sure you state your name. Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor, Acting Commissioner Worley. My name is Nathan Farrell. I'm a Baltimore City Public Schools teacher and member of the Public Outreach and Community Relations Committee of the Baltimore Teachers Union.
What school do you teach at?
I've taught at Baltimore Leadership School for Young Women for a number of years. But my question is to Acting Commissioner Worley, and that question is, what specifically will you do to keep Baltimore City Public School students in light of two things: curfew enforcement and engagement with the private police force that Johns Hopkins is employing to work within Baltimore City limits around the nexus of neighborhoods and schools that are along the corridors in which this private Johns Hopkins police force will be operating? Thank you.
Well, first,
I guess the first part for curfew enforcement is actually for me, not the commissioner, because BPD isn't leading curfew enforcement. So curfew enforcement for us is done by MONSE, it's done by our community partners, We Are Us and others, and social workers, and actually Baltimore City Public School employees who are working with us on curfew enforcement. BPD is not leading that. They won't lead that anymore. We know that that way didn't work for many, many years in Baltimore, having BPD lead that. And we even have young people themselves who are above the curfew age, who credible messenger young people who are leading that work with us, and that's how we're going to do it. It will not be BPD. I'll let the commissioner answer the second portion.
And with Johns Hopkins, we have an MOU with Hopkins that they have a certain footprint around their campuses. That's their role. The role at the schools are for us and for school police. Johns Hopkins Hospital, Johns Hopkins Police shouldn't be policing our schools. They'll police their campus and the facilities around it, but the schools are ours and Baltimore School Police responsibility.
And they also have to follow the consent decree as well, because they're policing in Baltimore.
Basically, they are taking every policy and just changing our policies to their policies. They're going to be held to the same scrutiny that we are. Use of force is going to be evaluated the same way. So they're going to be held to the very same standard. That was part of them being allowed to come into the city, is they're held to the same standards that BPD is under the consent decree.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Hello, Mayor and Commissioner. Thank you for allowing me to be here. I'm Sharon Marie Watson, born and raised in Baltimore. So I want to say that Baltimore you are the fourth mayor that I am in front of with this sign. Civic LLC health parks are needed in the inner cities of the United States. Had Sheila Dixon, Martin O'Malley, who's him and his wife are very nice as far as manners go. And Sheila Dixon, the other one, and the other one, Blake and they're not so nice. So we are beggars sitting on the top of a gold mine. So I'm saying to the citizens more so than the people in power, because I feel like you're kind of not on our side. So God's got money from the floor to the ceiling. Had any of the leaders, so I'm talking to any grant writers or bankers in the building, please check out my YouTube channel. We can get together 10,000 citizens, invest $50 on our public market day. We purchased 6 acres of land in Baltimore City, and we built, we split the profits evenly, do business openly, honestly, and inclusive. We do this to form a more perfect union for security, dignity, and a legacy in the city. Now, since I actually moved out of the city when my babies were born, thank you, my grandbabies. So she said 30 seconds and she threw me. Okay. Well, anyway, so now that 10,000 comes to 1,000. And in 10 different inner city locations, but Baltimore can be the model because we sit right outside of the capital of the United States. So everyone with these PhDs are all the way in the playground of the mind, messing with people's head. People need to really get up out here on the field and really show what it's about. So I'm hoping that you'll do. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, ma'am.
Hi, my question is for Worley. While you were presiding over the Northeast District during Chapman and Ruiz's killing of Tyrone West, did you ever thoroughly review the details of the internal investigation or the so-called independent investigation around the murder?
First, Internal Affairs does the investigation. It's not for me to review, and it's not up to me to review it. That's why they're separate from the district commanders. The Internal Affairs does the investigation. They recommend, first, before it even goes to Internal Affairs, the state's attorney looked at the case, did their investigation, decided they were not going to put any charges forward. Then Internal Affairs does our investigation, and then they decided that there was no charges going forward. There's nothing for me to review. That's why they're separate entities. I'm the district commander. Internal Affairs has a completely different job to keep them separate so that there's no input from me or is to enhance or anything with the internal investigation.
So would you have the power to review an internal affairs investigation of officers whose boss you are, should you choose to do that?
I didn't have the ability to review it back then. I was district commander. Internal Affairs is run by a chief, which was several levels above me. I'm sure at that time the Internal Affairs file was given to the police commissioner. I don't know what that interaction was. I was not in that chain at that time.
You were a major in the Northeast District during 2013.
Yes. There were 4 levels above me as a major. The commissioner and the Internal Affairs chief discussed the case. I was not privy to those conversations.
I think, ma'am, and I said this last week too, I think that we also have to think about what has changed since then, right? There's laws that have been changed around police investigations, which is why the State Attorney General's office actually now leads them for everybody and determines how the cases move forward. We talked about this one in particular. There's also been changes in BPD and how they change. And as I said before, if someone goes out and does an investigation and comes back to us and say that they are changing their ruling, then we will adhere to whatever the results of that investigation is, as we've had with many since I've been mayor and many over the last few years, removing people from their ability to be police officers and arresting several of them as well.
So I'm trying to understand what power a major...
Next, you got other people, ma'am. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And make sure you state your name, please.
Yes. My name is Jimmy Carter. Good afternoon, Mayor. I'm acting commissioner.
Good afternoon, sir.
I was at the meeting last week, and I began to express a problem that I have with with the way in which what I see as some systematic hypocrisy, in that I see there being a lot of money placed into administrations of programs, but I don't see the results that the money is being spent. And I think that's one of the problems that we have with the Safe Street, not so much not knowing the people's name, but people don't really see the results. You have the housing programs, like people encouraging people, for example. You know, they don't help you with any housing. You have the Maryland Court Help Program, for example. When you go to court, they don't help you with any court issue. They are just there. So what I see is happening is that the money is being put into the umbrella of the program, but not into the results of the program. The problem that we have with the children, are obvious. The education system, just completely sucks. I have been saying for years that these kids are not being taught at the level in which they should be. Yet, like we have a school superintendent who's being paid one of the highest salaries in the country. How does it equate? It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, what I'll say, sir, I can't speak to stuff that I don't control, right? But what I will also say to you is that one of the things that I set out to do, and one of the things that we have done, is we started funding things in different ways, right? There were agencies and programs that weren't being funded. Employment and development is one of them, right? Where we were asking them to go out and get all these people jobs, but they can't do that with just peanuts, which is why we invested so much money into our workforce development agency, allowing them to grow these programs that we just started, like Train Up and Hire Up, that have helped hundreds and thousands of people now get jobs, right? These are things that just started. When you're talking about Baltimore and its condition today, you have to also remember that these neighborhoods, these people, these programs and entities that you're talking about have been disinvested in for 30, 40, 50 years. And that's not going to just flick overnight because someone else comes in new and says, okay, well, we're going to give them more money to effectuate these programs. That is what's happening now. When you look at recreation and parks and the historic amount of investment that we've put in recreation and parks, opening 4 new rec centers since I've been in office, with another 5 slated to be done over the next few years, right? Some that were closed, for example, Boat Check had been closed for 20 years until we reopened it. I just went out there last weekend when there was a summer camp of over 120 young people. That's an impact that we can see now. Same thing with Towanda and Park Heights that you and I talked about last year. We got the new one in Cherry Hill, new one in Walbrook, a new one coming up at the top of Pennsylvania Avenue that's going to be built brand new, Parkview. Those things are just starting. But I want to specifically talk about, and that investment is just beginning to be made. I specifically want to talk about Safe Streets again, because we know there's the boogeyman that's trying to convince everyone that Safe Streets doesn't work. Well, if you have to remember, they're not controlling the whole part of the city. They're responsible for specific blocks in the area. And when you look at the areas that they are, this isn't me, this is independent folks in Baltimore and throughout the country who say, like, oh, this actually does work. Not a validation from inside the city or us paying somebody to do it. What we have to do is continue to understand that they play just a small part of what we're talking about in public safety. We have to grow that work, that violence intervention work that we know, because nobody can convince someone not to kill somebody or shoot somebody better than someone that used to get paid to do it themselves, right? Not the police department, not you, not me, not anybody, not even their mama sometimes. We have to invest in those organizations that are doing that work, and that doesn't just mean them. Those are folks like We Are Us. Those are other organizations that are doing that community-based work, which is why I've been pouring money into the nonprofits that do that work as well, who have been ignored. There are a lot of groups that have been getting the lion's share of the money from the city for a long time. It's time to start to give those ones on the ground, the people that are more connected to the community, and that's the focus that we've been trying to have.
Does that state my name? Hello, my name is Brother Balloon, formerly known as Renard Parks. Some people may have met me or heard about me from my cousin had passed last year. She was one of the little kids that got shot, 15 years old. If you can remember, I stayed across you September 12th last year saying exactly this. You will see a heightened increase of crime of kids, and that we understand you continuously say you don't stop that, right? But one of the things we did ask is there are people on the ground, and there are people continue to be ignored. This isn't personal to me. I'm on the ground, never with my fingers. I've been always intact into the community. It's many of us in this community. The reason I'm here is my question outside of the statement is, Mr. Worley, what are you going to do to help black men like me have trust in people in departments like you all? Because in reality, I work in this neighborhood every day, right? My kids that work with me at my nonprofit, they're 9 to 15. We started that because Nakayla was killed, and you all still haven't done anything about it, right? Essentially, we started that type of programming because in this neighborhood, I have over 100 videos on my phone of you all's police watching these people commit crimes. Not just sitting. I mean, they're watching them sell drugs. And these same kids that I'm dealing with, I have to watch them determine, are they going to go with the drug dealers or are they going to stay with me, right? But when we're talking about trust, I want to know, what are you going to do to show the Baltimorean that lives in this, they sees it every day, the safe street workers you all talk about, I watch them sell drugs. I watch them. So when I continuously hear, like, I'm from Baltimore, but I've been asking from you, brother, you're a black man like me. I need to hear, the question is, and I'll move aside. I am.
We can't hear you.
The question is,
it's
cool, I'll slow down.
No, you good, keep talking.
The question is, for someone that looks like me, what are you going to do to build up that trust? Because I see it every day. Thank you.
Yeah, I'll start first, Rich. I'll say, one, we always feel sorry for what happened to your relative. And we did make some progress with the state's attorney. Once we did the case, we got to turn it over to them. We hope that
Really quickly, Mayor, I have a recording in my phone from that time period that I was told that I would not be talked to because who the state's attorney was. I went to Mr. Keith Daniels.
Hold up.
I'm just telling you the truth.
I can't. She gone now. It's a new state's attorney.
I'm not gonna cut him off. I'm just gonna say when you said we did something for it, I'm just telling you the truth.
It's a new state's attorney now, so you don't have to. It's different. People that's gone is gone, man. You ain't got to worry about that now.
I'm just saying, based off when you said we did something, I'm just letting you know that.
No. I'm saying what I'm saying to you is that we know that charges were filed against that person, right? The grandmother, for that case, right? That's what. Our job is to make sure that we do the investigation and hand it over to the state's attorney. That's how it works. They determine who they charge and how. Once it gets past that, it's no longer in the realm of responsibility for me or the police, right? We elect the state's attorney. He's going to do his job. I know this was a case that he was very interested in, right? We can't talk about who was there in the past, all that. What the past is the past. So we'll start there. So we know that he has that part going. She's going to go to court. She's going to have her day in court. Everyone's innocent and proven guilty. We're going to go through that, right? That's the truth, right? If it were up to me, we'd be able to charge her with higher things, but that's not my job, right? I got my job. But for me, what I'll tell you, one, if you see anybody that works for me, whether it's BPD, DPW, Safe Streets, Rec and Parks, whoever, pitching, then you let us know that, right? I want to know that so we can get those people. If you got the videos of anybody, give that to us so that we can deal with those people directly. Because the only way that we're going to build that trust and build the things that you're talking about is that we show people that we're real about accountability when people are supposed to be doing one thing and doing the other. So that's the thing that I need from you and I to be able to have that so that we can remove those people. I don't care if they police or whoever, so that we can get that done.
Yep. And one of the things over the last couple of years, we haven't been able to arrest for low-level offenses because they weren't being prosecuted. So there was no sense for us to arrest. Now we can start arresting. Our misdemeanor drug arrests are up over 400%. Our felony drug arrests are up over 30%. But that's just a start. The biggest thing, and arrests are not the only thing. It's actually probably the least thing to make a connection to young people. It's to what the mayor talked about early, getting our officers out of the cars, getting them walking foot, getting them into the schools to start to learn and make relationships with the young people so we can build them up so that there isn't a animosity between them as they grow up. And no one should have to sit and watch anybody sell drugs. Our job to address it. We can address it now, and we will address it.
And always thank you for your job, the nonprofit.
Hello, how you doing? My name's Christopher Anderson. I'm with the Arca-Charlie Terrace area.
Good catch.
How you doing, Mr. Mayor? Good evening. And this question is for the deputy, and I have a follow-up question for the mayor.
You got one question, man. Look at the guy behind you.
Oh, okay. All right, I have one question.
Yeah, you good. Go ahead.
Mr. Worley, why was Deputy Commissioner Brian Nudo, I'm reading because I want to get the names correct, Brian Nudo allowed Julie Pacicello to stay on the payroll after she was suspended for 4 years because it seems like corruption? She was allowed to make more money than the mayor in 2018, and she was allowed to retire on June 30th. So, well, you know, why was this happening, and can we get away from these incidents of corruption in this city so it won't seem like any resemblance of corruption is corruption everywhere? So that's my question too.
No, the way the process works, if an officer is charged with a crime, the state's attorney has to finish their investigation. It took almost 5 years to finish the investigation on the officer. Once they finish their investigation, then our internal affairs can start their investigation. I believe before the internal investigation was done, she had put in her retirement papers.
And then I just want to add to this too. This is actually something that I myself and previous Commissioner Harrison have been in Annapolis trying to change. So in many states, if a police officer is charged, right? Say, for example, you're charged in an incident of a shooting or a robbery or whatever, that the chief of that police department can remove them prior to any investigation. And if they be found unguilty, then they get their job back. Here in Maryland, we're not allowed to do that, right? We have to wait it out. You can't fire them. You can only put them on administrative duties, which leads to, you know, some of the things that you're talking about. And we've been trying to get that through in Annapolis for many, many years now. We're going to continue that fight because it's not about every police officer. But if someone gets in trouble for shooting someone or robbing someone, or think about the fact that, like, we couldn't just fire the GTGF members. We had to let them stay on the books for all of that time while we were going through this long, drawn-out thing because of a law that exists in our state, and we're going to keep pushing to try to change it. But it's not just for us, right? It's a statewide law, and we're going to need y'all help to do that, too.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, gentlemen.
Good afternoon.
My name is Sean Weston. That's S-E-A-N, Weston, W-E-S-T-O-N.
Yes, sir.
Okay, Google it. First, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to thank you for sending the cleaning crew up, taking care of that trash that was in the alley.
Yes, sir.
But as I posted on that video, as you saw, it was trash on both sides of my yard. Up the alley, down the alley, it's still there.
Okay, we'll follow up on that. Thank you.
I'm a business owner in Baltimore City. I own the Northwest Variety Store, and I also own the Stone Pit Bar and Grill, which I've been trying to get open for the last 4 years, okay? Since those 4 years, I've had several other ethnic groups come in and open up businesses in my community, in which I have not been able to open up the Stone Pit Grill as of yet.
What's the location?
The location is 3318 Airedale Avenue, and that's due to Sharon Middleton, okay? I spoke to you, Mr. Mayor.
I vaguely remember.
I spoke to you for about 20 minutes.
It's like a zoning thing or something?
Begging for help up there. I ended up kidnapped out of my home and put in jail.
Wow.
Yes, for 2 years I was held. I came here to try to get this out.
Yeah.
The problem that we're having in this city is corruption, okay? Corruption. That's the problem that we're having. Widespread corruption, as I was told from the Attorney General's office, Harry Scholes there. He said, Mr. Weston, you're dealing with widespread corruption. I've lost my home of over 20 years. I'm a father of 10. My fiance is going crazy right now because she don't know when we're going to receive that letter telling us to get out that home. I built that home. The man that committed the crime in which I was kidnapped out of my home for, name is Cornelius Curl. He is caught on wiretap working for the city while committing his crime. He got a promotion. I was sent to jail in his place. Every news station here refused to cover this story. Every one of them. I've contacted them. I've had 4 protests down in front of the federal district courthouse, and I know it's federal, but it started with the city in Sharon Middleton that had me kidnapped out of my home. I have not received justice as of yet. They've took over $200,000 in jewelry out of my home, Judge Russell and Judge Copperhite. I've been protesting all over social media about this. People, black people, wake up in this city and understand. As long as there's a profit in locking black men up, we'll continue having this problem, okay? We'll continue having this problem. I urge you to look into this situation. I know your Uncle Sly. We're very good friends. And I'm hoping that you can help me, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, I'm here to help.
I'll follow up with you on that.
I'm here to help. Thank you.
I'm happy to be here, and I want to say how happy I am to see everybody's here. I come from Mayor Schaefer time. Many years I've been in the city. I've helped Mayor Schaefer become governor. I have a citation from the mayor as conducting a very good business at the Baltimore Inner Harbor. I have a citation from the police department that I have a very good business, an honest business. I have from Governor Ehrlich, Governor O'Malley, and Governor Schaefer commanded me that I'm a very good and outstanding person. I would like to have some kind of recognition from the mayor and from the police department to help the Inner Harbor. I went to Harbor East the other day to have dinner. We got out of the restaurant about 11:30 at night, and there's kids walking on the road. Okay, that's very late for kids to be on the road asking for money, and we need to protect our kids. At the Inner Harbor, our red brick is meant for baby strollers, for people, for them walking their dogs. We got bicycles and bicycles, illegal bicycles, doing tricks and falling on our tourists. We got scooters. We got motorcycles. And we have a bicycle lane in front of the Cheesecake Factory, and our red brick is behind the Cheesecake Factory. I talked to the police because you sent them to me from the last meeting, and they said, Miss Leslie, we can't do nothing about it.
You got a question? Something specifically you want to ask the commission?
Please come to the Inner Harbor and take the bicycles and the scooters off of the red brick. They got a bike lane because they're running over everybody and they're tormenting people.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
And make sure you state your name.
Hi, my first name is Katie Marie. My last name is Fickling. I am the managing partner at Capitol Lounge, which is right next door. For several years, we have talked to different public officials, and we have never got an official answer. When it is about 9, 10 o'clock at night, which is a rush time for us, we have what is called a sting or a raid that happens. So many people say they don't know what it is and they've never heard of it, and they don't know what to do about it, and they don't know where to direct me to. So what happens is the health department, police officers, housing, and the liquor board all show up. One person steps in, they ask for the person in charge, and then everyone follows through with bulletproof vests on. That is a great deterrent for our business. We already have deterrents for our business. But when that happens, we become an untrustworthy business because it seems as if we're doing shady business. I've asked several times how they can do this differently and why it happens. We have been told that it happens because there is violence in the neighborhood, and it always will pop up when there's a shooting or there's a killing within a 1-mile radius. We're on Pennsylvania Avenue. How does something like that change because they ask for our license? You can punch that in the system. We pay taxes. We have everything up to date. So what can be done differently to deter or this to happen for us again?
Yeah, that's actually one for me and not the commissioner. So just to try to explain it to you a little better than whoever did that awful job of explaining it to you, this is this is about coordinating agency response, right? And it's not to pick on your business, right? Because your business might be one where, you know, you've never had health violations. You're not the Harris Teeter and fancy Locust Point that's been closed for 2 weeks, right? You've never had those violations. But what happens is when they're coming into a neighborhood, right, they can't just, and I'm trying to be nice, but you know what I'm saying, they can't just pick on a certain type of business. They have to go and do everybody when they're doing that. We can take it back and look at if there's different ways that they can do that. That's a takeaway from me, not the commissioner, to do it in a way that doesn't alarm folks. But a lot of it is driven by Liquor 301 complaints, health. Obviously, the health department, as you know, plays one of the biggest portions in that, and you can see the results of these things by all the places that the health department closes down at odd times at night when they even, not like you're supposed to be operating, but some of those folks are not supposed to be operating. They're feeding people food when they have rat feces all over the place and things like that. But they can't just like skip over you and go to the carry out, if you get my drift.
I understand, and I know I'm not supposed to say anything else. However, the last time that it happened to us, the fire chief asked for our blueprints from 2007 for a sprinkler system. If we could not produce them, he would shut us down. He then brought in an idea to say we needed to pay $75 an hour for someone to sit in the business every day that it was open, in order for us to stay open and operating.
And was this about fire code? No,
it wasn't.
We'll get your information. We'll figure out what that was about.
And we'll take a quick break really quickly. The owner of a black Lexus, tag number 3EE3460. You do have to move your car immediately before you are towed. Again, it's a black Lexus, tag number 3EE3460. Thank you. And then when you come to the microphone, please make sure that you state your name, and there is a 2-minute maximum for your question.
He said, why you tell him? He ain't asked this question.
Oh, he was ready.
You're good.
She said you're going on a break.
No, the break was her reading the tag number. You're good.
Okay.
The break was the tag number, man.
Okay, 2 minutes. My name is Kareem Hassan, and I represent a unique group of people, the returning citizens of Baltimore.
Yes, sir.
And our concern is the youths in Baltimore, because they're off the chain. You know, and we feel as though we the best ones to deal with them, because I myself was one of them. Mm-hmm. You know, I'm from Poppy Grove and Emerson Avenue. I went to prison in 1976 at 17 years old with a life sentence for first-degree murder. I did 37 years. I'm home now. And I've been on the streets talking to the squeegee boys, the dope boys, the gang boys, the boys just standing. I talk to all of them. And this problem in Baltimore with these youth is not going to get in check without people like us dealing with them. You know, and we're one of them people that you said that they say that's forgotten about. But we have a plan that's called Creating Responsible Youth
that we feel as though that can help get these youth in check. So all I'm asking that you give us a chance to do it because it seems like everything else ain't working.
We can
these
definitely.
kids are off the chain.
Yeah, we definitely will definitely connect you up with the MOAM folks and the brothers over there to see how there's ways to have that synergy, because we got a lot of brothers like yourself who are doing that work with them, but we just always need more brothers to do it, to be quite honest.
All right,
Thank
no
you.
problem.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Dr. Laverne W. Murray. I'm a pastor of a church that's straight up the street on 2520 Pennsylvania Avenue. My question is directly related to this community.
Yes, ma'am.
And what I see is that we have a community that, while I know the law says that it's not a law to lauder, you know, but what are we going to do about the Pennsylvania corridor where the drug activity is outrageous? Our senior citizens don't want to come out because they don't feel safe. And our community in the 21217 is so filthy. You know, filth breeds crime. So my question is, when are we going to really clean up the city to make a difference so that people understand just because it's not dirty, you know, we can do crime here. You know, but my fight and my plea is for the citizens here in this community who are upstanding citizens, and then we have a small group of people who are disrupting this community. And so I'm looking for cleaning of this community, and I'm looking for policing to take place more often with regards to the drug dealing and the loitering in front of businesses. People can't even go to DHS because there's too many people just standing all over the community. So that's my question. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am, you're absolutely right about the loitering, but we can address that. Even though you can't make arrests for loitering, if we want to get our officers out of the car, if our officers get out of the car and walk up and stand there and start talking to the young people, they're probably not going to stay around and talk to them. We also can start, like I mentioned earlier, we do have the ability to make the drug arrests now. And we've made several on Pennsylvania Avenue. We've gotten 3 handguns, I believe, over the last week and a half right off of Pennsylvania Avenue. So those are some of the things that we're doing there proactively. And it's not just with officers on the street. We have cameras that we're watching to see what's happening while officers were patrolling the other areas. So there's lots of things that we can do as far as addressing the loitering without making loitering arrests or loitering laws.
And then I'll address the trash portion. This is something that, you know, I know the brothers at our social club that makes me mad, because I myself have been out in front of our social club and cleaning up and then come back 2 hours later and somebody's already dumped trash back there. This is why we actually partnered and working with the folks in the area to make this a clean core community where we're paying people. Some of the folks are actually re-entering citizens to get out there and clean in alleys. We're going to continue to do that. We need a lot more help in doing that because we also have to have a little bit more self-responsibility for us as in the community about that as well, because I know, talking to some of the folks here who go out and participate in these cleanups, that they get frustrated, that they go out and they clean up all this trash, and as soon as they take it up, people come and just dump trash right next to the place that they just cleaned it up, right? We have to, yeah, I know you're one of them. We're going to...
I come out in my pucks and pearls.
Right, and pucks and pearls, that's funny.
I'm cleaning from the top
That's right. But
Pennsylvania all the way down to North Avenue. So
we're just going to have to continue to do that, educate more people, but also figure out ways to hold people more responsible for the dumping of stuff as well, because we can't just allow people to trash our communities up.
So real quick, are we putting the trucks back on the street?
So the trucks are there. So I actually, and this is one of the things I think is important for everyone to hear. I actually ordered a bunch of trash trucks when I first got into office. They are telling me they're going to arrive in January. We'll see. We know the reality is that COVID wrecked the whole world. One of the big frustrations for me and everybody that's in the solid waste business, whether you're private or you're a mayor of a city, is that that production line is very slow. So if I order them in January of 21 and they're telling us that they come in of January of 24, it's literally taking us 3 years to get these trucks. But it's not just about the trucks. We need more people, which is why we're consistently hiring. So if anybody knows anyone that's looking for a job, people that we're training people, giving them CDL bonuses, all of these things to get more people back into that line of work, because we need folks to do that as well. Thank you.
How y'all doing? My name is Kristen Kelly. I'm the youth coordinator for Beyond Youth Organizing, also known as BIO. Before I left for school in 2021, we worked tirelessly with the youth and police engagement issues. I even co-affiliated some policy workshops on BPD's youth engagement policies, 1202 and 1207, in partnership with the Mayor's Office of Criminal Justice and later the Office of Neighborhood Safety. So you can only imagine how disheartened I was when I came back home to curfews, no squeegee zones, and young people receiving citation for all those things, which seems contradicting to the work that we've done on the police and youth relationships. So my question for you, Commissioner, is what are your strategies to realize the concept laid out in those policies, and how do you plan to move the BPD away from punitive enforcement, like approach with the youth?
I'll actually start. So the reason why, because curfew is not enforced by BPD, and I'm particular about that as a person who changed it, right? I think that we have to make sure that everyone's informed that curfew used to be a criminal penalty in Baltimore. I actually changed that and took that away, so it's not a criminal penalty. We took BPD out of leading curfew enforcement because we didn't want unnecessary youth police engagement when they didn't have to be the ones doing it in the first place, right? The same thing with the squeegee engagement, which is why we have MOAIM and We Are Us and young people and all these other folks leading that work, so that the police department aren't the ones doing it as they have been the catch-all, because quite frankly, that's not their job, right? We have other things for them to do. I'll let the commissioner talk about the specific policies that you guys worked on, and thank you for that.
Yeah, and we did, during COVID, we lost a lot of connection with the youth and a lot of connection with foundations like yours. So also with the squeegees, we are the very last element. And we have not issued one citation for squeegeeing. Usually if they don't obey when MOAIM's out there, when we pull up, as soon as we get out of the car, they usually walk away. And even if they don't, we stand there and talk to them. And we don't want to issue citations. We'd rather them just move on. So we have not issued any citations. We're not even in the curfew conversation, because that's not something that we're doing. And that's something that's very concerning for the federal judge, because it doesn't help our youth engagement. So what we're going to start doing is we're going to get back into the schools, like the very first question with Officer Friendly, with the Explorer program that basically has gone to 0 people in Explorers, and work with agencies like yours to get our officers and our youth connected. One of the things when the mayor was a councilman in the Northeast and I was the major, we did an intervention where we had officers come in and sit in one side. We brought the young people in and we made them talk to each other. And it took a little while. They kind of sat there and looked at each other for a few minutes, and then they finally started talking. A couple years ago, and something else that I'd like to do is, I don't know if you remember, we did that camp where our officers were there working with the young people. They had no idea the people that were working with them were officers until the very last day when the officers showed up in their uniform. They never told them, they just worked the camp. Things like that where we can connect with the young people without being any type of enforcement, where it's more a mentorship to make them grow so that they can see us as a partner and not as an occupying force or as a warrior, more of a guardian. Yes, ma'am.
All right. Well, we got 2 minutes.
Yeah, you're good, brother.
I'm going to set my alarm. Started. So, I want to give a shout out to the mayor. You're the freshest mayor I've ever seen. So, if you think coming here, asking the mayor and the commissioner is going to make an impact, I'm afraid to say you're wasting your time. We agree and disagree. But what I will say, that everyone in this room know the fabric of every person in the community. through and through, right? So I just encourage you. I'm just here to bring encouragement. I don't have a question for anyone because I didn't want to be here tonight. So I got my alarm set. But what I will say is that you guys know the movers and shakers in this community, right? So instead of speaking down on them, speak up to them because they're leaders. If you can lead a block of 50 people, then you can speak courage into them and say, hey, I know you're doing what you're doing, but just speak to one person today and give them encouragement. That one person that you may give in a pack to, tell them, this not for you, bro. Go do something different. I got 49 seconds. So speak life into the people that you can. You can't save everyone, but you can speak life into someone. The mayor can only do but so much, okay? So he's fresh. Got a fresh cut to me, more hair than I do, right?
Up top only, though.
Right. So he can only do but so much. We know who's moving and shaking in these communities. I'm from the 1-5. My cousin just came home from 17 years. I'm speaking to him, or I'm going to speak more to him. So just speak life into people that you can, do what you can, and do what you can. This meeting is necessary, but don't think they can do everything. I'm gone.
I know. Name is Miss Britt. At last week's meeting, Worley stated there have been changes within policing and that they're in a better place now than they were years ago when corruption was rampant. Only changes I've witnessed is the changing of names and shifting of personnel. Back in the day, there were jump out boys, stop and frisk, zero tolerance, resulting in mass incarceration of our black and brown men. I don't see a change in that. Jump Out Boys became GTTF, and when they were disbanded, they became the DAT, or District Action Teams. Same tactics, different name, except now they're shooting younger people. The true sign of insanity is doing the same thing over and over, yet expecting a different result. I spoke about police brutality last week, and I'm going to circle back to it because it permeates throughout the department. Lieutenant Brian Rice, who initiated the chase of Freddie Gray, is still on the force and a lieutenant. Before that chase ending in Freddie's death, Rice had a very troubling past, including domestic violence, that became part of his internal affairs file because protective orders had to be taken out against him. He was clearly disturbed and unhinged enough that fellow officer had to file complaints. Worley claimed last week that more recent IAD complaints are cop-on-cop complaints, yet it seems like IAD and higher-ups in BPD still ignore these unhinged folks on the force, promote them, shift them around when they become a problem in a particular district. Leaving these officers on the force is a terrorist tactic against the citizens of Baltimore. Why does BPD keep using these specialized units that cause the majority of police brutality cases? And why is Brian Rice still on the force, let alone a lieutenant?
There you go, y'all. That's a question.
First of all, our brutality and our use of force and excessive force complaints are down significantly. So those numbers do not equate to what you're saying with the department. We have a better process. We're overseen by the consent decree, Department of Justice, and a federal judge who looks at all of our policies. We have an internal affairs process that goes through our internal affairs. It's looked at an outside agency. The Attorney General actually oversees any police deaths, so it's investigated by an outside agency. The state's attorney looked at both of the cases that you... Do you want me to finish? Sure. The state's attorney looked at every case that you asked about, and the state's attorney has ruled that there are no criminal charges filed against the officers. When that case is over, our internal affairs looks at it, and our internal affairs decides whether or not there are administrative charges.
Said the same thing to another questioner. I'm just saying.
Well, the answers aren't going to change if the questions are the same.
And I told you last week that internal affairs is a joke.
Well, I think, ma'am, again, I'll just interject and say, I think that if you go back and look at the data will show you that from 2013, 12, 14, 15 till now, the amount of folks BPD and their ability to remove people, fire people, etc., has changed. We can't, and you know I'm going to say this again, I can't go back and change something that happened before I got here, right? And I also we still have to operate under the laws that we have today, right? Unless someone commits an act that they are held accountable for and get charged with, or we found them to do today, we can't go back and say, hey, person who they say weren't guilty, we're going to remove you anyway, because then we're going to lose, right? We know that's going to happen. Thank you. We just can't, we have to follow the law. When people are found guilty, when people are charged, when we're able to do that, we remove them. Other than that, we cannot do, because when you get taken to court and lose on that, it'll be the people in this room that are paying for that. That's why we have to follow the law.
My name is Tawanda Jones. I'm the sister of Tyrone West. My brother was brutally executed right here in Baltimore City by 17 killer cops, beat to death in broad daylight. And then if that wasn't enough, the medical examiner's office covered it up. I had to kick out $50,000 because they tried to lie and say that my brother died of a bad heart and dehydration. Last week, you said that one bad cop was too many. Well, how about let's start at the 17. They got promotions. Just like my brother said, and he always said, you cannot clean a dirty house with a filthy mop. It's impossible. You're spraying corruption all the way around. We more than hashtags. Like, enough is enough. Like, when are y'all really going to do something? Like, do it take for me to get killed for advocating for my brother for 10 years with death threats, with a target on my back? Do it take for me to get murdered before y'all actually try to stand up and say something? And it's not just black men getting murdered, it's women too. What about all these black missing women and children? Nobody's talking about that. I got 1 minute left and I'm going to make it worth my time. You talked about Officer Friendly. Well, guess what? Officer Friendly got killed when he was going to go testify against the GTF. When he was going, and they try to say that he committed suicide. And another Officer Friendly got killed when they ran him. Well, he didn't get killed. He's still alive, but they ran him out of town with rats on his car. Joe Crystal. And then another officer actually got murdered by his own Officer Torbett, who literally was doing outside patrol in front of a after club and pretty much was murdered, and then they dropped the gun that they murdered him with. That's disgusting. That's what happened to Officer Friendly. They killed him. He been killed. So Officer Friendly, that's dead. Like, stop playing with us. We need reality. We need everything. Right now, there is no justice. It's just us trying to hold people accountable.
My name is Minister Adrian Farrell. I'm a preacher that's been preaching out on the street corners for the last 17 years in the hood. My question is that we say that there's a problem with the youth, which we do know, but do we feel that the government has perpetuated this situation or created this situation by first putting fear in the parents to correct their children, by first letting the children go out into an environment that is infested with nothing but drugs, then that an idle mind is a double playground, which we know, by the kids now trying to make a living with Squeezy, and then the Fox 45 News trying to ridicule them and make them feel like they are the terrorists and vicious and so vicious, like there's no bad apples in everything that you do. So if I can run them from the Squeezy, then I can run them to the corner to get them to be a statistic to the penal system, you know what I mean, as well. You know what I mean? And so do we feel that, and then you say the drug dealers. Who is the drug dealers? How is it that fentanyl come through every city, every country, and every state at one time? Ain't no black man got that kind of seniority or that kind of power, you know what I mean, as well. So, you know, we dealing with a major academic hurling, which we know that the government had used that tactic for to control our communities and put us in bondage to a mental path of a slave mentality or to a more ultimate substance of a chemical dependency as well. Thank you.
Thank you. And I'll just respond to you, brother. Thank you for that. I think that we know, right? The reality is, and we've said this many, many times, that we know that the condition of Pennsylvania Avenue, Park Heights, where I grew up, East Baltimore, right, is not, it happened on purpose, right? We know that.
And I think that that's why we're trying to do things very differently. For me, it's why I operate that way. It's why I removed BPD from the squeegee thing. It's not their job, right? We have to first look to see how we can get people better before we're trying to throw them away. Because when you're talking about the folks who say like they don't want to see squeegee kids, essentially what they're saying in code is that they don't want to see poverty and young black poverty. That's what they're saying. And that's why we've been able to focus in this way with them and help so many of them, and many of them that we have to continue to help. The same way with the folks that are re-entering, while we're actually doing that work behind the wall before they come home, right? To look at them in a different way, to not shun an eye, because there are forces in the media that want to tell you that anybody that's black and went to jail, they shouldn't be involved in helping clean up their community because they're going to be criminal forever. We know that people change consistently, and we have to continue to invest in that and do that and not allow them to play the Jedi mind trick that the only way forward is to go back to the way that they used to do it, and that's that anybody that's black and breathing should just be locked up.
I'm Dan Hellerback. I'm recently retired former city schools administrator. I've heard Acting Commissioner Worley tonight. You've said several times that you want certain things to come back or want officers to be doing certain things. And I'm going to say officers have to want to do those things. Can't just make them do them. And we are under this consent decree, and I heard Mayor Scott say tonight, I don't care who I have to make accountable, even if it's the police. That consent decree was created because of the culture of the police, where black citizens, residents in our city were treated a certain way by the police, and the culture fed this system where police use force against citizens unnecessarily. And so I have two questions. One for each of you about that topic.
But you can ask him. You know how to get me, so you can.
Yeah. Well, I was going to ask you just real quickly. You know, I presume that you've had some time to figure out who you wanted to be the acting commissioner. What kind of process you use, Mayor Scott, to vet other officers or acting commissioner? How did you come to this conclusion? And then two, for Acting Commissioner Worley,
you get one question, Mr. Hellerback. Look at the line of people.
Well,
it's
the same topic.
Everybody else got one question, man. You get one question.
How would you create a culture?
It's one question. You get one question, Mr. Hellerback. So I'll start to respond to your question, Mr. Hellerback. You know I hate to do it to you because you know how I feel about you and how you educated our young people, but there's people behind you that we have to get to as well. So I'll just give you my answer, and I'll make sure that we get you your answer. Don't worry, we'll get you your answer to your question. But so for me, this is upon knowing and learning that Commissioner Harrison was leaving. What I decided to do was, first I wanted to have the conversation with him because, as I said to you, a little bit of similar answer last week, that when he first came here and we went through this whole process where there was another nominee and then myself and others, because we looked at the work that he had done in New Orleans, wanted to really impact to have him come because they were the department before BPD that was drugged through the mud, right? And the first conversation that he and I had as we were driving around Baltimore City at 10, 11 o'clock at night, which is what I do with anybody that wants to be in that job, is that he told me that when I leave, because I asked him, I said, listen, Baltimore has a history of going outside of the city to bring in a lot of people, especially police commissioners, right? And I said to him, I said, sir, you're here essentially because they went to New York and they imported zero tolerance policing from New York into Baltimore. Tell me how, when you leave, can you assure me that the department will be ready to promote from within and what you're going to do that? And he told me that I'm going to begin this work of reform. We're going to lean in. People are going to be mad. They're going to say, I'm a commissioner that's soft on crime, all of these other things. I want to hold everyone's hand, but I'm also going to build the department in a way that understands that they don't have to be the warriors anymore. That's not the way that we're going to police. We're going to focus and understand that policing is one part of a larger scheme of how we're going to deal with public safety. And he said it's going to be up to the other agencies, and he and I already agreed on that point of understanding. When he said he was leaving, I asked him, sir, our first conversation, do you think that there are people ready in the department? He said, yes, sir, they are. And I said, okay, well, tell me who you think they are, because you know me. I'm also going to ask my friends in places, other mayors, people around the country that we work together in public safety, if there are other individuals. And he said, okay, you got to do your due diligence. So we did that. And I came to the conclusion that, especially having other mayors actually ask me if we had someone that I thought could be a chief in another place, that we needed someone from within, especially the time that we're in, and we needed someone, in my opinion, that could build those relationships, that understood what was done wrong, that had the impact that I had seen personally have an impact in the community, and was able to develop and understand that BPD isn't the end-all be-all anymore when it comes to public safety, and be a part of a group of agencies and a group of people to build public safety. And that's how I came to the conclusion. And we'll make sure you get your answer on the other question as well.
Well, hello, my name is Unique. I'm from 2527 McHenry Street, born and raised in Southwest Baltimore. So I'm familiar with everything. Your childhood, my mother was a heroin addict. I was raised by a single dad. I've lost cousins to the streets of violence. You know, I've lost my godson last year to violence. So I know how all the pain feels and the frustration. So first time I say thank you, because I also know that both of you's position requires a lot of a person, and a strong person at that, and anyone cannot do it. So first, thank you. Okay. So my question is for the both of you. My cousin, Ronnie Hunt, was recently released from prison last February after serving 30 years in 9 months for wrongful conviction, okay? He had to fight 15 years for his freedom after Joseph Capera, who was the police Maryland expert for ballistics, after he was found under investigation for charges, corruption, okay? He committed suicide under investigation. However, none of the cases was retried. So my question to you is, how would you change this? Because I know of people who still fighting to come home. Yeah. And it's not right. And it was one of you all who sent them to prison. So, and I addressed the issue with Ivan Bates as well.
Okay. I was going to say, that's where you should start, and we can follow up. So that's not for me or the police commissioner to do, but no, I know, and you should anytime. And you also, because those folks that are doing those things for them, they work for the state as well. So make sure you're raising that up with your state elected officials. We'll be sure to follow up on our end to say, like, hey, we should look to see if there are other cases, but we just need to all talk to those individuals who have that responsibility to act if they know that this information is true.
But another thing is, let me finish. Another thing is this: why can't that receive the same highlights that Marilyn Mosby is getting right now?
Well, you got to talk to the folks on that side about that. That's not a question for me. Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
You know, the media pick and choose what they want to highlight. However, there's a lot of men that's in prison that does not deserve to be there.
Absolutely. Anybody that's there falsely should be sent home. So I agree with you totally. Well, that's why we have those state officials who are responsible for those things, and we'll make sure that we share that information with them.
My name is, well, they call me Brother Tashambe. I'm chairman of the Arts Club. I'm also the historian. The audience, they are bringing forth a lot of heartfelt thoughts and wisdom, you know, and I'm going to listen to them. My question is, like, we are now the Black Arts Entertainment District down Pennsylvania Avenue. There's a lot of development all around, new homeowners, everything. And my question is to the commissioner, what is your department plan to make sure that these homeowners stay in this community? What are you going to do to make it look like a cleaner and a safer community? That's what we need in this area in order to bring more businesses into this area. Thank you.
Yeah, well, the first part that I'll have the mayor answer, the cleaner part, but the second part is we need more patrol, we need more foot patrol, we need more business checks, and we need to do more enforcement if necessary. But in order to do enforcement, there's got to be other options of wraparound services, and that's where the mayor's office of neighborhood safety and engagement can come in. That strategy, the group violence reduction strategy, is to get the individuals. The first option is we will go to their house, the individuals that are causing the violence. We go to their house, we give them a letter, we basically say, hey, we know what you're doing, we want you to take these other services, job services, education, any type of training that we can give you so we do not have to come in and arrest you at the end of it. Then we follow through. If there's no more violence, and they move on, then we move on to somewhere else. But that's the only way we're going to clean up the drug activity, because it's so rampant throughout the city that there's more drug organizations than we probably have police officers. So it's one at a time, but we've got multiple investigations going on, not only with us, but our federal partners and our state partners are doing investigations as well into these drug activities.
And thank you. And Brother Shambe, we're going to continue to do those investments into things like Clean Core and others to try to coordinate with you all, as we have before, about making sure that we're keeping the neighborhood cleaner, but also I guess I haven't announced this yet, so I'm going to do it here since we're in Pennsylvania Avenue. But the city's not just going to stand by and think that folks for the Black Arts Entertainment District, that it's just going to be outside people coming in and planting a flag here. We ourselves are going to be investing. I'm actually going to be moving Charm TV's offices to Pennsylvania Avenue so that the city is putting down the flag to say that we're going to be here as well, which is, in addition to the Parkview Rec Center, which is why we're making those investments so that we can revitalize a neighborhood that you, more than anybody, have shown me the history of how rich the culture still is here. Ma'am?
Good evening. My name is Corinne Rochelle Williams, and I'm on the board, the Resident Board Association Board for Heritage Crossing. I've been a resident there for going on 22 years now. I'm also a real estate agent, and I became a real estate agent so that I could help people, young women especially, single moms or single parents, I shouldn't just say women, invest into real estate and provide, for their children. So my concern is in regards to the vacant houses. There's also concern about human trafficking with these vacant houses. So my question is, what are you doing about it?
Yeah, we have a unit.
Ma'am, can you let her get her question answered, please? Thank you.
One moment, ma'am.
Thank
we
you,
have to
ma'am.
have her question responded
Be
to,
respectful.
please.
She didn't talk when you were talking. Let her get her question answered too, please.
We have a unit that's dedicated to human trafficking. They do investigations along with the mayor's office. That's also dedicated. We use the fire department because lots of times it's the sex workers who are involved in human trafficking. So what we used to do in the past is we would use them as we would basically make arrests for prostitution. We really don't make prostitution arrests anymore. What we try to do is get them wraparound services to get them out of the sex trafficking. And when we do realize we have trafficking, we use our federal partners to help investigate it, because usually it goes outside of Maryland to other states, even other countries that we've already know that individuals are coming to and being taken from. Other countries coming into Baltimore, and then, like someone had mentioned before, some young people just completely disappear. So those are the things that we're trying to follow up on. We do have a whole unit that's completely dedicated to that.
And we actually were talking about that earlier today. And I just, on your point about vacant homes, right? And this is something that is very important for me. And even though today we have less vacant homes than we had in decades, we still have way too many. And one of the things that we've been able to do, we were able to last year get a specific docket in the court for in-rim, which is how we try to get these properties out of the hands of these landlords. The overwhelming majority of them are owned by private people. They're not owned by the city, right? And we have to continue to take them away. But we also know that we're going to need a very, very, very specific type of capital investment to deal with this issue, and we're going to need law changes as well to deal with how we deal with vacant properties in the city. And you'll be hearing from me about that and some other partners. We actually have been having some external partners come from other places who have worked in places like Detroit and others to see how they did it, but how things can work here in Baltimore. And we'll be talking about that work in the coming weeks and months and asking you, the citizens of Baltimore, to get on board with helping us get those changes that are necessary to snatch those things from people quicker and also have them go into hands like people in yourself who are doing the real investment. Thank you, ma'am.
Got you, baby. How you doing, Joe Blow? My question is for the in regards to the uptick in auto theft with these kids in these Hondas with these so-called kid boys.
Kid boys.
Just last week, I was a victim of a hit and run, whereas I chased a young man down in a stolen vehicle, caught him, right? You know, I caught one of them. When the police came, you know, of course, he arrested him for about 5 minutes. Then he was told by your administration and also the juvenile state's attorney to let him go. Here it is, I drive down the $100,000 automobile. Now I got to pay $5,000 to $6,000 out of pocket just so it don't go on my Carfax, right? He said he was told that, you know, he can't even take them down what they call baby bookings, you know, so forth and so on. Not only, and I know you joined a lot of cities in this lawsuit, but, you know, it's not Kia and Hyundai's job to keep our property safe. It's the officers of this city. So I know it seemed like there's no accountability for the youth.
So we agree. I just want to tell you, we agree. So let me just correct a little bit what you said. It wasn't us. So the only people that work for me in your story is the police.
Okay.
Right? The folks at the jail, juvenile bookings, the state's attorney, they all work for other elected officials. So we have the same frustration. In fact, I met with the Department of Juvenile Services director this past weekend and said the very same thing that you're saying. Yeah. I am tired of us making arrests on people who commit stolen autos, carjackings, robberies, etc., only for you guys to let them back out and we are re-arresting them. So what we are going to be doing is working with them around changes to how laws, these are state laws and policies, not city laws and policies, that are allowing for these folks. So I just do a little bit of education on that, right? So that you understand that you ain't going to find two people in this city who get more angry about that than the two people you're speaking to tonight, because we're the ones that are consistent. Like, for example, no one's going to have a town hall with the DGS secretary. They sure as hell ain't going to have a judge at a town hall who decide that the person just should be sent home, right? It's going to be us. And what we're going to do is continue to put pressure on other parts of the system, but also ask for those systemic changes, because it's not just, you know, we find young men and women on home monitoring that are committing these crimes, and they're supposed to be monitoring 24/7, 365, right? We have to work with our other partners, and I get it. Now we have a governor who really wants to dig into these issues and change it after having one for 8 years who just didn't care, right? Like, those are the things that we're going to be doing together. But I will push back a little bit too, though. Honda and Kia do have some self-responsibility because they knowingly put out a product that they know that could be stolen in that way. So we have to hold those kids accountable, but we have to hold them accountable as well, and which is why they know it, which is why they're starting to pay out, and they offered a fix to it as well. Go ahead, man. You good, Mr. Blow? You ain't need to give us your real name, Mr. Blow.
Joe Blow, the lover man. Listen. That's what I'm trying to tell you.
Too much Dolomite.
Listen, that's what I'm trying to tell you. Listen, I totally understand what you're saying. But when I was these young men's age, I went to jail. They sent me to Hickey.
I got you.
TV. And to be told that, listen to me, I let you talk. To be told by an officer, I cannot take him to baby bookings, arrest him. And it ain't even that I wanted him to be arrested, because I'm a victim of Martin O'Malley and the bullshit, zero tolerance policy. But some accountability has to be taken. For example, you got a kid that's 13 years old last year, Emerson Village, blew the little girl head off.
Yep.
Nothing happened. No accountability.
But I think
come on,
that's
man.
my point. My point to you is that those aren't city laws that say that. Those are state. Then you got to hear me out. You got to hear me out, right? The same way that we've been having this discussion. I know that some of the reporters asked me about this. So they're literally having meetings in September in Annapolis about the juvenile justice laws in Maryland. So these laws were changed a few years ago by the State General Assembly, and they put in the law that young people of a certain age couldn't be held accountable, right? I think it's 12 and under, something like that, right? But I get you. But my point to you, Mr. Blow, is we need you to also be going with us to Annapolis to say this don't work for real people, right? Yeah, I know you were there, but we need more of you. Yeah, I get you. But the same.
Only happened because we started telling what was really happening.
I got you. Hold on. I got you. But my point to you is this: the same smoke y'all bringing us, the people that are making the arrests and being told that we can't do nothing. Bring the same smoke for your state elected officials that you elect the same exact way.
So come on.
Yeah.
Let me talk.
Yeah.
Let me talk. Come on, man.
Hold on. You got your two. I'm gonna pull you aside. I'm gonna pull you aside, Mr. Blow. You good? Let her go. I'm gonna pull you aside when it's over, yo. No, I'm not. I'm gonna pull you aside.
He'll talk to you after.
I'm gonna talk to you as after, man. Calm down. You good? I got you. Yeah, you good. Just sit right there, Mr. Blow, the lover man.
I'm Mary Lee. What was that? What did you say? Oh, I'm Mary Lee, and my question is, my son was killed on the street of Maryland, and it's been almost a year. October the 12th will be a year.
Where? I'm sorry, man. Where was
on
he killed?
Baker Street.
Baker Street, yes, ma'am.
And it just seems to me, here it is, and I feel remorse. I pray for everybody that things like this is happening to. But my question is, why is it that it seems like if it's on the news, they find that person, they go right on out there and they work hard to find who did the killing. But here it is, my son was killed. And now the police, in the beginning, he was talking to us. Here it is now, when we call, we can't even get a call back to find out what is going on. I need closure. I need closure. I'm hurting. And I can't even get the respect of an officer to call me back. I don't care if he say, right now we still don't have anything. I can't get that from him, and I'm just not understanding this. How can it be newsworthy and y'all all on the TV, y'all looking for him, y'all showing that y'all are doing what you're supposed to do. But here it is, my child, it's just like it does not matter. And I need to know why. I can't even get a phone call back now.
Yes, ma'am.
That's why I want to know who protecting our children. Who protecting our children?
Go ahead.
The only way I can do anything is come here.
Yes, ma'am.
It's crazy that I have to come here to get an answer.
I can tell you that the homicide detectives we investigate every murder the same way. What they decide to put on news is not up to us. What the stories that they decide to carry is not up to the police department. We have investigators, homicide detectives that investigate every single case to try to close it, to bring you closure. One of those officers, if you walk right back there and you give them your name, I'll have one of the homicide detectives call you and stay in touch with you as far as where the case is and what we're doing with the case. But I can assure you our homicide detectives are some of the best in the country, and they try their best to serve and to close the cases. But like I said, we don't decide what makes news and what doesn't make news. We just investigate the cases.
And we're sorry, ma'am, that you're going to call back.
I'm not going to say that you have that, but I'm simply saying, as my only child, I think
Yes,
I
ma'am.
deserve the respect of least. You'll keep on, keeping on, keeping on. Me and form.
I agree.
Still no, I can't get a phone call back.
You will, ma'am.
That's what I'm telling you.
As
I
soon as you
agree.
turn around and walk back there, they'll make sure that we get you connected, and they will call you back for sure. Reverend, last word?
Yes, the last word. First of all, I want to thank you, Mayor. I've been knowing you for 50 years. I've been
Not
in this
50.
struggle.
I ain't been alive 50, Reverend. Don't give me that. You might 39. You'd have known me.
He was a baby. He was a baby. I put it like this.
I was a baby.
Yeah. But I just want to, first of all, I came when he was there. I'm here to spread some love. We here at Shake and Bake Family Fun Center. I know it's better to light a candle than curse to a dog. I know one sister was talking about. My plan is I got it written up for you, Mr. Mayor. One faith, one church, one corner, one safety house. I want every church, every mosque, every synagogue to adopt one corner. I know you'll give them a vacant house to make a safety house because the kids need somewhere to go. They need a shelter. We can't lock them up, as you know, where the church cannot afford to give them a pass. And I've been in the wilderness for 50 years saying the same message, and you know that. And I'm here to support you because I do believe in lighting a candle is better than curse the dog. So I want to end with prayer.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much, sir.
Father, we thank you for this day of coming together as a community. We all have our hurts and pains and our differences. But we know that our children are still suffering, be it the squeezy kids, the kids on the corner. We do lift the mayor up, not tear him down. Amen. Because we know he come from Park Heights. We know he come from the bottom. And we know he's your man. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thank you, everybody, for coming today. Thank you very much.